Our final inductee of the afternoon is Charlie Zies. Charlie Zies started coaching at Florida Christian School in 1975. To present Coach Zies is his former student athlete and class of 1979 graduate, I should say, David Mora.
David Edwin Mora is my name, the class of 1979. Coach would call me Edwin, and that was my dad's name, but he would do that just as a sign of affection. The first time I saw Coach Zies, I was a 13-year-old boy coming out here for football in 1975. And Coach Zies was the offensive line coach. I didn't remember that. Charlie Barrington reminded me of that. And here was this big man. This guy was a big guy. He had a red hat on. He was yelling and he had a bat, and he was just trying to motivate us. I mean, he was tough. And I thought, man, this guy's pretty mean. And whatever the case might be. And so we went through the football season and Coach was there. Some of these guys, Juan Valdez was on that team back then. It was a very, very tough team. And I think they made the district. I don't remember for a fact. Richard Green was there. He's a big guy from the past that was there too. And then football season ended. So I'm sitting there, what in the world am I going to do? Yeah, I'll play basketball. Why not? Octavia wasn't here yet, though, but Tom Fowler and Tim and all those guys, I knew them, and Roger Marcellus. And then Robert Andrews was the football coach. And he comes up to me as a little kid. He says, Dave? I said, yeah, coach. He says, unless you wrestle, you're not going to play football next year. I was just a kid. I said, wow, I can't play football. I guess I'll wrestle. So that was it. Then I got to meet Coach Zies. Tell you what, I never, in my wildest mind, I thought that Coach Zies would become such an influence on my life and my family. He was my coach, he was my mentor, and eventually became my friend. And there's some things I could just sort of toss in words, Wrestling for Coach was tough. I mean, when you wrestled and you went to Coach Zies' wrestling practice, it was brutal. I mean, there was no sympathy. It was work, it was sweat. We would turn the heater on. Like Charlie would be out there with his bags on him. He would make people do things that you would never even think. We had a heavyweight. His name was Richard Green. He's here. Rick was big. He was like 260 pounds. He's a man. And Coach would make him climb a rope. So would you see this big man, Richard? He was like a kid. He'd go up there climbing this rope, pop, 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 and go to the top and do it. I don't think there's any other heavyweight in the state of Florida that could go ahead and climb a rope. And the practices were really, really very intense. Another thing I think about Coach is being dedicated. He would come, before Florida Christian was like this, it was nothing. Like Ox said, he would come here playing the basketball courts. There was nothing here, and there was like little places here. So Coach gets the wrestling team going, and we would come on the weekends on a Saturday morning before the sun came up. And Coach Zies would be here, and he had a ranchero, and Mr. McRoy, who's here right now, and other people would come, and he would take this group of kids, take us across the state to wrestle. We'd go to Charlotte, wrestle these kids all over the place from the West Coast, and they didn't know what Florida Christian was. I mean, I don't know if there was a Christian school in the state of Florida that had a wrestling team. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure not here in Dade County. And he took us over there, and we would wrestle. Mr. Gage is one of the people, and we learned to wrestle. I mean, the dedication there. And then as time went on, he would start taking us to camps. Coach took us all the way to Wisconsin. Think of this camp called the Camp of Champs, and there were these guys, Ben and John Peterson, who were Olympic gold medalists. I mean, these guys were like muscle upon muscle. Man, good godly people that loved Jesus. I mean, they were Olympic champions. And he took us up there. I mean, he drove in this crazy old van. The van was like a nothing van. He drove nonstop, I think it was, maybe on the way back. It was just crazy. I mean, it's just driving up there. I remember Charlie, the first time us Southern boys had ever seen hail. And Charlie put his hat out, and the hail hit his hat, and the hat went flying on the ground. He said, "Let me get my hat." And Coach goes, "No, don't go out there." It's like, okay, we didn't know what hail was. Small pieces, but not big stuff. And then John Aller was up there, and South Florida people speak different because the people up in Wisconsin, they didn't understand what we were saying. I mean, I think I still mumble now. But it was amazing. John Adler's here. He come down from Apopka, and John and I were sitting there, and our guy that was our head guy was Ben Peters' brother, and he pro wrestled at Iowa. Just a brutal guy, big shoulders. When he's standing there, and me and John were talking to each other, and he couldn't understand us. But I mean, he said, "You guys." And then another great wrestler was there, Randy Manley, who's an incredible wrestler, and yeah, he was just an incredible guy. So the coach took us there. Then again, he took us on another trip. I mean, what coach does something like this, man? I mean, he took us to West Virginia, went to the Granby School of Wrestling, and that was pretty incredible to him. So he definitely loved the sport. He was dedicated to it. And then probably the biggest influence that coach has, and you can't, I don't look at coach like this lovey, this lovey guy. He was just tough, but he definitely, showed love in a way. Coach loved his country. He didn't talk about it too much, but he actually, he was in Vietnam. So he was this Christian boy from California. This Christian kid gets drafted, and he's in Vietnam, and he would tell us some stories. He didn't really open up too much, but I do remember one story he had. He talked about that they were on a raft, and they were going down. They went the wrong way on this river raft somewhere. It wasn't like, and when he came back, the way he was supposed to go, they were like dead bodies from the guys that went the right way. I thought, oh my goodness, man, that's my coach, So they definitely loved his country. Coach loved his family. I know he loved Sue. I mean, back then it was Sue that he was dating, and then Sue would come to the practices, and she would just sit there. I don't know if she really enjoyed the matches. I don't know, but she loved Coach, so she was there. She was going on that. And then the biggest thing that Coach, Coach loved Jesus. Coach loved God, and I think that meant so much to me and all his wrestlers. I mean, there's a lot of us old guys here. One of his wrestlers came all the way from Georgia. He was a head coach up in Georgia. He came down to spend a night with Mike Vina. He spent the night at my house, so he comes here and honor Coach. And doesn't that tell you something when someone has that kind of effect on you? It just the love of God and Christ in his life just really meant a lot to all of us that were his coaches. I mean, his wrestlers. I remember that when I went to college, I'll never forget this. I wanted to grow up to be a godly man in some way. So I had to other college. I thought I'd wrestle. I would have got smushed in college. But whatever the case might be, thought I'd go here, Liberty, maybe I'll go there, maybe I'll go to Laterno. And then there was Bob Jones University, which is an unbelievable strict school. But Coach Zies went to Bob Jones University, and he graduated from Bob Jones University. And I remember my friends would say, "Hey, where are you going to school?" I'm going to Bob Jones. Why are you going there? And I would say, because my wrestling coach went to Bob Jones. So, Coach, congratulations. Love you. You're the best.